So when we talk about typical fitment range from 2008 to 2016, what we mean is the range that we know things are just going to fit. Now, if you have a typical fitment range, that usually means that you're probably going to be running a tuck setup, you're not going to be too wide, and you're going to be something relatively conservative so that we know that it's guaranteed to fit on your car. If that's the way that you want to go, that's fine. If you're looking for something a little bit more aggressive, this is going to be the series for you to think about what is actually going to fit your car. So let's get right off with what the typical fitment range is. Now, your typical fitment range is anywhere from a 17-inch to a 20-inch wheel, and you're looking at anywhere in terms of a width from a 7 to 9-inch. And in terms of offset, you can go from 35 millimeters to 55 millimeters. So that's your typical fitment range. Usually anything in there is going to fit your car. It's a pretty big range. So we're going to start off just with 2008 and what we see in our gallery. Now, if you guys didn't know, we have a huge gallery that has a bunch of different cars, and Subaru is our pretty popular one in there. We've decided to take all the information and data that we've gotten from you guys adding your car to the gallery and figure out what actually you can go out to in terms of a more aggressive fitment. If you're looking to add your car to the gallery, you can go to fitmentindustries.com/add, and then that just helps us out making more videos. Plus you get featured on Instagram. It's a pretty cool gig. So is that all you need to know in terms of what's going to fit your car? No, because there's a whole more bunch of information that surrounds that number that's going to give you a little bit better fitment. It's going to make it look a little bit more aggressive and something that you actually want to run. So starting off with the 2008 Subaru WRX, you're probably going to see mostly an 18-inch diameter wheel. You're not going to see 17s or 19s, and you're going to see most people go with an 8.5 or 9.5 wide setup. With your offsets, we usually see people on the 8.5 go from 30 to 35 millimeters. So an 18 by 8.5 offset of 30 to 35 is going to give you a nice clean look. If you go up to a 9.5, you can do that, but you're probably going to rub just a little bit. It depends on if that's something that you're willing to do or not. Most, if not all of these setups, when we go past that typical fitment range, is going to require you to roll or probably pull your fenders. Almost every single person out there right now rolls their fenders, so we're going to take that into account for your setups. If you're looking to get a little bit wider, you're going to have to roll those fenders. So if you're balling for the gram, you can run an 18 by 9.5 plus 35. Just expect that you're going to have to roll the fenders. When we go into the 2009, you're going to see that a lot of people are going to stick between the 22 to 30 offset. So the offset gets a little bit lower so that we can fill the wheel wells just a little bit better. And you're going to get the closest fender to look with an 18 by 9, even into that 18 by 9.5 plus 22 to a 30 offset. Moving up to 2010, we see most people go back to that conservative 18 by 8.5 plus 35 offset. It's just an offset that works with the Subaru WRX body styles, both the sedans and the hatches and everything in between. When you go into something that you want a little bit more crazy, you're probably going to end up going with like an 18 by 9.5, sticking with that plus 30 to 35 offset and running, realistically, something around a 235 40/18 tire. If you're looking for an 18 by 8.5, we see a lot of people running a 225/40 tire. So 2010 for a normal setup, 18 by 8.5, 30 to 35 offset with a 225/40 tire. And if you want to get a little bit crazy, you want to go up an inch, you definitely can do that. You're just going to want to be careful and go up probably one higher size to a 235/40 to fit those wheel wells without having to rub too extensively. But if you roll your fenders, we do see people saying that they only encounter a little bit of rubbing at full turn. If you have a 2011 Subaru WRX, this is where it gets a little bit more fun because a lot of people have these, so a lot of people got to try something new. If you're looking to get something a little bit more aggressive, we're seeing people go out of the fitment range, I'd say a little bit more to the 18 by 9.5, and you're going to see the offset range from 22 to 38. So 22 is going to give you closest to the fender, if not make you poke probably a couple millimeters, but it's going to give you a good clean look as long as you're pulling back the tire, I would say about one size down. Now this is where we do see individuals run a 20 offset and a 15 offset, which is again going to push that wheel out farther. But with that setups, we do see a lot of people running into camber angles and things like that that they have to take into consideration. If you're looking to buy something that's a 15 offset or a 20 offset, those are very common with a lot of Cosmos racing wheels and more aggressive offset cast wheels. You're going to want to take into consideration that you might need to run a little bit of camber to make them fit properly. And if you're looking if you can run anything else, a 17 by 9 plus 25, an 18 by 8.5 plus 30, and an 18 by 10 plus 35 can fit on the 2011 Subaru WRX, but you're going to want to expect modifications when you go that wide, especially in terms of rolling and pulling your fenders. Now that we're on to 2002, the Subaru WRX gets a little bit more crazy because people decided the 2002 Subaru WRX is their favorite, so that means that we have all the more data to go with. You're going to see a lot of people run with an 18 by 9.5 plus 35 offset on their 2012 Subaru WRX. It's going to give them a pretty good fitment. In terms of a tire that they go with, they're going to end up going with a 235/40 tire, and that's going to give them just a nice pullback on the tire so that they can fit those 9.5s on that body. In terms of the second most popular one that we see is an 18/10.5, and we're gonna see an offset of right around a +20 if you're going into a 10.5 wide wheel. With what we're seeing on the 2012 Subaru WRXs though, if you're fitting a 10.5, you're usually running into air suspension territory. So if you don't have air suspension, you're probably gonna wanna stick to that 9.5 option that we gave you before. The 10.5 option is gonna be more for the airlift suspension people with the pulled back wheels, with the camber, with the stretch tire, and with rolling and pulling your fenders. So remember, if we go above 9.5, you're gonna need to do a little bit more modification. But if you wanna ball for the gram, sometimes you gotta take a few risks. In this year, we do see a lot of people run anything between 18/8 up to an 18/10. Obviously, the wider you go, the more modification that you're gonna have to take into consideration, but for the most part, you're playing a pretty safe bet if you stick to that 9.5 wide. If you go plus, or if you go down in your offset to a more aggressive offset like a 10 or a 15, just remember to take into account that that's gonna stick the wheel out further. We cannot stress enough that just because we're telling you that it fits, we are letting you know that you might have to roll, you might have to pull your fenders, but most importantly, if you go with a 10.5 wide on a +10, +15 offset and you're on stock suspension, you're not gonna have a good time. So be sure that you're using our gallery. We have a bunch of links that we're gonna put in the description for you to actually look at these cars and what their actual setup is so you can figure out what you would like or don't like. Moving on to the 2013 Subaru WRX, we see a lot of people go back into the 18/9.5. They stick between a 35 and 40 offset, but they go with a meatier tire. You're usually looking at a 265/40 or 255/40 18 tire to pair with their 9.5s so that they can get a nice meaty setup. If you're looking to go down to an 18/9, you can do that as well. We just recommend that you stick to a 35 offset. A lot of 18/9 wheels don't have a whole lot of offset options, so try to stick to that 35 range if you can, and drop down to a 255/35 tire if you're looking to get a nice clean setup. And finally, if you have a 2014, 2015, or 2016, you're gonna see your ranges go a little bit wider just because of the creativity that a lot of people have gone with. We see people run an 18/9.5 and they usually stick to that 30 offset if they're looking for something a little bit more aggressive. We do see a lot of people go into the 35/40 just to be safe, but we would recommend trying to stick around the 30 if you're looking to get a flush setup. If we go wider into the 18/10s, you can do that with a 295/30 +15 offset, but then we're going back into airlift territory. We do see 18/10.5 +15s and +20s, but that's going to be a very, difficult look to achieve if you don't have the airlift suspension, if you're not familiar with camber. If you're looking to get something that's just going to work for your car, 18/9.5 with a 30 to 35 offset is going to give you a really clean look. If you're going with a 255/40 or 265/40 tire, it's going to give you a great setup for all-wheel drive. Plus, it's going to be a good setup for the winter time if you're looking to drive the car all year round, which if you live up here in the Midwestern area where there's snow, you want to drive your all-wheel drive car all year round. So that is our fitment information for what wheels fit on the 2008 to 2016 Subaru WRX. We hope you guys enjoyed. Let us know in the comments what you want us to cover next, and check the description if you're looking to see what these setups actually look like. You're going to be able to go into our gallery and see pictures of what numbers I'm throwing at you that make absolutely no sense. And if you're interested in picking up wheels, tires, and suspension, check out fitmentindustries.com. We have wheels, tires, suspension, all that sort of good stuff. If you're looking to add your Subaru to the gallery because you have something that we didn't talk about, feel free to do so at fitmentindustries.com/add. I'm Alex from Fitment Industries. We'll see you later. Peace.